everyone. This is Omar from the Third Rail. Haven't been here in a while. um, Let me try it again. Let me fix the mic. I hope it's working. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Third Rail. Back to our podcast. Today we're going to discuss a serious and a deeply troubling event that has shook the nation and probably the world. The attempted shooting of former President Donald Trump. It's difficult to comprehend the magnitude of such an incident. Former President Trump, a figure who has been both polarizing and influential, was targeted in what can only be deeply described as an assassination attempt, an act of violence, was targeting what we can describe as a political violence. I mean, you could say anything you want about Donald Trump. I don't agree with him. I don't support him. I don't even like him. But in this kind of situation as an American, that's a dangerous situation to be in a country that is already divided by corrupt political parties that see that political parties that go to Washington not to serve the American public, but to serve themselves, to argue and investigate each other and divide Americans against each other and create a tribal nation full of tribalism and hate against each other. My political view do not align with Donald Trump. I don't think anybody's political views align with Donald Trump. But Donald Trump doesn't have any political view. He's a man of the moment. He's a man who takes advantage of situation, who puts one group against the other. And it's shameful that it happened. But I'm going to say this again. I'm going to say thank God that nothing happened to him, of course. We do not want to see that kind of violence. We don't know what was going to happen if, God forbid, that has happened. I know you have seen this video a million times, but are we going to go look at it for my audience?
You have to
wait. Hold on.
Seat at age 38.
Oh, gosh.
And the GOP.
You can tell I'm not prepared,
J.D.
right?
Vance first.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
As he was about to turn around and, I don't know, show a keyboard in the back, and he of every day of every rally he have never asked for it, and that day he asked to have that billboard where he could show people numbers, to look professional, I guess. Donald Trump is all about perfection and things of that nature, but that saved his life. And I thank God, man. I think God wanted him to stay alive, not because of his of his deeds or things of that nature, but just to keep the country intact. We were probably 1 inch away from violence, and he has a large following who do not follow him politically, but culturally, like a cultist people. Here you go. Let's watch the video.
Move to spare. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go.
And now you can see that he's on the ground. They are all on top of him until they eliminate the threat. And they did eliminate it. You got to give him credit for that right away. Probably by the third bullet, he was dead. And they hit him directly in the head. But the problem right now is the aftermath is, how did that person get up to such a high place to have an open and direct shot of the president of the United States to be elected, or the former president of the United States? a lot of people were yelling, he got a gun for 2 minutes or 3 minutes. But everybody, you have to understand, it's like a circus atmosphere when you go to these rallies. People are drinking, they have beers in their hands, so everybody's yelling, everybody's screaming. So probably the Secret Service did not understand what they were saying, and we heard it. There are some videos out there where they say a guy has a gun, he has a gun, he has a gun, and they keep on yelling.
All guys here. All guys here, move it to the stand. Stair, get ready. Stair, get ready. You ready? Are we good? Shooters down. Shooters down. Are we good to move?
We're clear.
Let's move. Let's move.
We're clear.
Come on.
Let me get my shoes. Let me get my shoes.
He wants his
Let me
shoes.
get my shoes.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we gotta move to the bus. Move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Okay, my shoes down. Get the shoe.
Watch out.
Now, who in that moment will do that? Donald Trump is a performance artist too, even in the most dangerous moments. Who have thought that he'll raise his fist and say, fight on? He just be shot in the ears. Unbelievable, man. He's a showman. He's a showmanship guy. New Yorker, 100% New Yorker. USA, USA, USA. There he goes. He was safe. I mean, the bullet missed him by inches. I mean, it hit his ears, man. It pierced his ears. 1 inch. If he had not turned around, his head would have been on the floor like John F. Kennedy. The guy who ever shot, we found out he's a 20-year-old kid or 21-year-old kid from Pennsylvania, from the same area where he was shooting at when he shot the president, where he attempted to shoot the former president is. Now the infighting is, what is he? Is he a Democrat? Is he a Republican? And the Republican will say, well, he donated $15 to Act Blue in 2017. And the Democrats will say, well, he's a registered Republican. He's a fucking terrorist. That's what it is. He doesn't have to be this or that. He does not have to be a Republican or a Democrat. He's a terrorist. He's a criminal who tried to kill probably the future president of the United States and create chaos and probably, create violence in the aftermath when people react, because everybody has a conspiracy. And the worst part is, it is the people you see every day on YouTube, like Jimmy Dore or like Candace Owen. Candace Owen, she has never meant a conspiracy that she don't like, that ugly duckling. I was starting to like her, and I think it is that, but I think she is, hey, what's up? Yo, John Wayne, what's up, my brother, man? The president was saved by John Wayne. What you wrote, John Wayne? Shooter. To Black Rock, way in controversial for him on something. I don't know. BlackRock is like this big corporation, right? He's young. He cannot be. He worked in a nursing home. John Wayne, he worked in a nursing home as a nutritionist, giving food to the elderly. It's just that it's so sickening that he will climb such a height just to kill a person. And you know how the conspiracy goes. You got everybody and their mother out there. Well, the Democrats wanted to kill him. They have taken him, they have indicted him 91 times. They have did this, they have did this. They can't defeat him now. No, it's not. I don't think anybody in his right mind wants to see the president, to see Donald Trump hurt. Seriously, man. Let me put this, I can't see with the goddamn mic. You understand? Hold on, man. Let me fix the microphone. I haven't did stuff in a week, man, or 2 weeks, man. Me and my grandson, we're gonna start a new show, man, coming next week. All right. There he goes. And today Trump picked his vice president. His vice president is J.D. Vance. Is it what you call him, J.D. Vance? Is it? Who wait, I can't see. Oh, there you go. All right, we good, we cool. I have eye issue, John Wayne. If I don't read your message, I can't see them because I have problem with my eyes, man. I don't even like feeling doing this. I'm so lazy doing this. But the whole idea is everybody has talked about it. The whole thing about it is, America is not like what it used to be like 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I mean, pre-1996, everything was good until the Republican Revolutionary whatever Congress came to power with Newt Gingrich and Tom Delahoy, who were all corrupt and were all chased out of Congress because they were corrupt. They came with the Congress, the contract with America, the scorched earth policy, the take no prisoner issue. At the same time, Fox News came into play in 1996, and after that, it's just been downhill from there, downhill going on, down and down and down. All right, let's see. They blame the Democrats for talking violence. Let's see what this guy says. Hold on. I'm just going to show you.
We are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
He said that about a week before Donald Trump got shot. These people don't want a country. They don't want a country. I don't know what they want, man. It's unbelievable. Anyway, Donald Trump has picked J.D. Vance. This is J.D. Vance, if you don't know who he is.
Former President Donald Trump's running mate.
J.D. Vance is owned by an openly gay billionaire called Peter Thiel, a German multi-billionaire who makes his money from providing the government with intelligence computers that spies on people, spyware for the American government, and depends 90% of its income on federal contracts. And he's the person who bankrolled J.D. Vance. They have a relationship for way back in San Francisco. You could think about what you want to think about it. And he's the one who bankrolled him to become the senator of Ohio, I guess, right? Now they have picked him as vice president of the United States to Donald Trump. And the Republicans keep on saying, well, he called the president, people are calling the president Hitler. He called Donald Trump one time Hitler himself.
Vance has had a meteoric rise in the Republican Party. From a best-selling author and never-Trumper in 2016...
I'm a never-Trump guy. I never liked him.
...to winning a U.S. Senate seat at age 38. And now, he's former President Donald Trump's running mate.
Elect Donald Trump in 2024. God bless you, sir.
Vance is very much a creature of the new Republican Party that Trump has shaped in his image. By picking Vance, Trump is showing he's doubling down on this MAGA agenda. It's a full-throated, populist, national conservative ticket.
Here's why the Trump-Vance ticket is a big deal for the future of the MAGA movement and the GOP. J.D. Vance first catapulted to fame in 2016 after he published his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy. The book detailed his experience growing up poor in Rust Belt, Ohio, and making it to Yale Law School. It was a smash hit and became a Ron Howard-directed movie in 2020.
I know I could have done better, but you got to decide. You want to be somebody?
We're trying to paint
this white nationalist movement as a movement primarily of poor and working class Americans, when the truth is that the alt-right is actually led by better educated and frankly pretty well-to-do people.
In his initial foray into the public spotlight, Vance was very much anti-Trump. His book made clear that he was a conservative. Many people latched onto it as an explanation for Trump's sort of surprise success in the Republican Party and then in the election.
When Vance launched his campaign for the Senate in 2021, his stance on Trump underwent a big shift.
I obviously didn't fully appreciate the president's appeal in 2016.
Yeah, he said some bad things about me, but that was before he knew me, and then he fell in love.
He even described himself to me in one interview as a flip-flop flipper on Trump, saying that he had similar policy views but was against Trump as a person until he realized that Trump was advocating for the policies that he supported.
While running for Senate, Vance was one of several pro-Trump candidates in the primary. But in one debate, Vance was the lone candidate to oppose a NATO-enforced no-fly zone over Ukraine, and that caught the eye of Trump's inner circle.
What a no-fly zone, it sounds nice, like we asked the Russians not to fly planes over Ukraine. What it means in practice is American Marine Corps pilots, Air Force pilots, and Navy pilots getting in dogfights with Russian jets. Which the problem with that is it's not in our vital national interest.
That impressed Donald Trump Jr., and he began advocating for Vance's candidacy, including with his father.
Trump's unique brand of conservative politics has been reshaping the core tenets of the Republican Party since he was elected in 2016, like tighter borders and a retreat from the world stage. He's changed the GOP so much that the Republican National Committee recently revamped its platform to a new, stripped-down version, one that focuses more on Trump himself than on specific policy decisions.
Trump has been changing all of those stances to the point where many older Republicans feel it's no longer recognizable. At the same time, a movement has arisen in Trump's image that believes in his policies and believes that the Republican Party should be reshaped in his image.
Believers in this movement, referred to as the New Right or National Conservatives, take Trump's impulses and turn them into doctrine. Vance has become one of their leading voices.
The American people, again, they need people who put the interests of their own citizens first, of our own citizens first. And that's what this entire movement is all about. And I think that's what the Trump presidency will be about if we give him another shot, as I expect that we will.
When Trump selected Mike Pence to be his running mate, that was a pick very much intended to reassure Republican voters. Pence, being a traditional conservative, an evangelical Christian, was someone who regular Republicans who saw Trump as sort of an arriviste in their party could look at Pence and say, all right, that's someone I can trust. Fast forward to 2024, it's clear that Trump no longer sees a need to share power with that wing of the Republican Party.
Right after Trump's attempted assassination in July, Vance was one of the first Republicans to publicly cast blame at the Biden campaign for the shooting.
So this is why he's a fucking idiot. J.D. Vance is a smart kid. I think he graduated out of Harvard. You know who made him? The liberals. He wrote a book about the opiate crisis, how it affected his family, how it destroyed the people in the Midwest. And they made a movie out of it. Ron Howard is one of the best directors. You know, the left built him, made him rich, bought his books, made him a movie. But my only issue with him, I know he's intelligent. You know, it's good. I hope he's going to be a counterweight to Donald Trump's idiotic behavior sometimes. But I just don't like his association with billionaires in San Francisco, like Peter Thiel and all these other people who've been bankrolling him from day one, who actually knew them personally in San Francisco.
As Republicans unite around the Trump-Vance ticket after the July 13th attack, Democrats remain in disarray following President Biden's disastrous debate performance in June. Biden has vowed to stay in the race despite continuing calls from fellow Democrats to step away from his place at the top of the ticket.
I think there's a whole pool of voters there in the center of the electorate who really are not being spoken to by either candidate because of the way these tickets have shaped up.
Senators Marco Rubio from Florida and Tim Scott from South Carolina were also contenders on Trump's VP shortlist. Both could have appealed more to minority voters, something that Trump has historically struggled with. Choosing Vance allows Trump to shore up support among the white working class.
Ohio is also part of the Rust Belt, and the most crucial states in this election are those Rust Belt states. That white working class vote is a vote that is also very crucial throughout those Rust Belt battlegrounds. There is a hope by some of Vance's backers and some on Trump's team that he could potentially galvanize those voters even more than Trump already does to juice Republican turnout in those states.
What was the Russia collusion hoax? It was about destroying Donald Trump. This ridiculous New York fraud case, it's about destroying the guy's wealth before he re-enters the Oval Office.
Good. It's good to see you, man. Thank you.
He is really a bet on the future as well, a bet on the future of the Republican Party and a bet on the future of the populist conservative movement. Trump would never say he's anointing a successor, but Vance was decades younger than the other potential picks that were under consideration for vice president. And in choosing such a young person to be on the ticket with him, there's an unavoidable implication that Trump has sort of chosen an heir, chosen someone to take the mantle of that MAGA movement and go forward with it, whether it's as a future president himself or simply as someone who is poised to exert great influence in the Republican Party, continuing to shape it along those populist conservative lines for years or potentially decades to come.
All right, thank you, the Wall Street Journal. I hope they don't flag us for doing that. But this is an introduction to J.D. Vance. He just been picked as the vice president of the United States to Donald Trump. Let's hope Donald Trump is a changed man, because he have the devil took a bullet for Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump, I hope he sees that as an opportunity to be a better person, to be a better human being. And he could defeat Biden very easy. All he has to do right now is say, I'm a changed man. If I was there, if I was one of his people and strategists, I would say, just go out there and start saying, I'm a changed man. I have seen the light. I am the president of all Americans, blacks, white, Hispanics, Asian. I'm here to unite the country. I want to protect America's border. I want to be a president for everybody. We are equal in the eyes of our government, and we are under the contract of a Constitution of the United States, and we are all protected equally. All he has to do is just do that for the next 100 days, and he will be president of the United States. Very easy, because the Democrats have no message. Their message is, first of all, Joe Biden doesn't know where he's at. He's been he have co-signed a genocide in Gaza because he doesn't know how to respond to Netanyahu, because he's not fully there to confront him. So he's running him all over the place. And second of all, the only message is democracy is on the line. You know what? Before this shit happened, I said, fuck you and fuck democracy on the line. I'm going to vote for Trump just to see how bad democracy is going to get. Because I don't like the scare tactics that they use. I'm going to give you an example. One time with the Democrats, Trump appointed the headmaster, the post headmaster of the post office. And what they did, the Democrat vilified this guy and said he's going to slow down the votes that's coming by mail, the mail-in votes. He's going to do this. He's corrupt. They had us up in arms. They had me going outside taking pictures of United States Postal Office that are trucks that are parked, not doing nothing. Say, look what they're doing. They're not doing anything. They had us all jacked up that this guy was evil. Not Trump. The postmaster was evil. He was just doing Trump's work to delay the mail-in votes and hand the victory over to Donald Trump. Then what happened? Joe Biden becomes president. He's still the post office master. He's still the general. You don't fire him. Why? If he was so bad under Trump and he was so dangerous to democracy and he was soft-dealing, like you said, and he was soft-dealing and he was a corrupt individual, why didn't the Democrats change him? Sometimes it's little things like that changes your mind and it makes you think twice. And people don't realize that it doesn't have to be a big thing to make you rethink the situation. So I knew that our political parties were all about just scare tactics. Democracy is on the line. Donald Trump will suspend the Constitution, will take over the government, and we will not have no more election. Whoa, wait. First of all, the military doesn't have to have their say. The military takes an oath to protect the Constitution of the United States from foreign and domestic enemies. So no one is going to overthrow the government or destroy democracy or destroy our way of life or create havoc if the military of the United States doesn't co-sign on it. They are the real rulers. That's why they get $1 trillion a year and they raise them every year. They have no audit. They haven't passed an audit in like 20 years. So, that money's going left, right, just, So the whole idea, I didn't like that. You see, when they say that, you have to look at the little things they say. And when they do things like that, then you're like, okay, if they're lying to me about this post office guy, what else are they going to be lying to me about? Anyway, before we go watch our video today, Piers Morgan, you know who this guy is.
Stay on Twitter. I am 100%.
This guy is called Destiny. Destiny is a... Uh-oh. Okay. Hey, Destiny is a cockhold on Twitter. And yesterday, they already took it out of the internet. He just had this bad take. He was elated that Donald Trump was shot. And he said that Democrats should not cock anymore. He's a cockhole. What are you talking about? You're the cock, not us. And he said some unrealistic. He said things that are not good. I mean, he was elated that Donald Trump was shot. And he said the only thing he's upset at is that the guy did not go to a better shooting places to teach him how to shoot right. That means because he missed. And that's dangerous shit to say. I don't know if the Secret Service haven't visited him yet. They should visit him soon.
Fuck it. Fuck the dude, the firefighter guy. Fuck Trump. Fuck the people that support him. I just want you to know, okay? Just in case you're confused or...
Now, he's saying fuck the fire guy. This is a man who is the head of the fire department. He's like 74 years old, who was killed protecting his family. This man is a scum. This guy is a scumbag. He doesn't belong in the internet. He has a followers of idiot goons who should not be even following in the first place. This man is a fucking idiot. That's it. Let's just put it there. Simple. You know what I'm saying? Where am I? Where's Omar? Oh, I hate this. I hate when I do that. So now when I do the what do you call it? So for him to say such a thing is unbelievably crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. There you go. Okay, I had to fix it. All right, let's finish what he said. Remember, he's saying, fuck the fire guy, the guy who got killed yesterday. This is a man with a family who was murdered in cold blood.
Fuck the dude, the firefighter guy. Fuck Trump. Fuck the people that support him. I just want you to know, okay? Just in case you're confused or it seems like I'm, whatever. If one of you were in the crowd and you're a conservative fan of mine and you end up, getting blown away or whatever the fuck, I'm making fun of you the next day on Twitter. I am 100%.
So, and he had another take with the other simp called, what's his name? The other simp.
Being killed.
Well, not yet. The other sim called Wick TV. Wick TV. So the whole internet went wild. Why did he say that? How could he say that? The guy has been cheerleading and defending the Zionist army that's killing women and children in Palestine and Gaza for the last 9 to 10 months without nobody even batted an eye. But what he said was disgusting. But what my disgusting is the reaction of the people who all of a sudden Destiny is wrong, Destiny is crazy, Destiny should not be on the internet. Where were you when he has went to every debate he can go to defend He said if Israel threw a nuclear bomb in Gaza, it will still not be defined as a genocide. Now, when you have 17 to 15,000 children, the average age is 5 years old, who have been murdered by the Zionist entity, and this creep, this cockhold, has been running cover for them for 9 months, and I didn't see this reaction on Twitter. All of a sudden, he said that, which is disgusting. Everybody jumps. We should ban him. He's a disgusting human being anyway. Anyway, let's get to our show.
Fuck the dude.
Fuck you.
Been a crisis moment in American politics?
A crisis
Absolutely.
moment, yeah.
Would it put us one step further on the road to a breakup of the country? 100%.
I can imagine how impressionable minds, if they keep being told someone is Hitler, start to believe they might have a moral justification. Would you like the left now to stop calling him Hitler?
Who called him Hitler?
Who called him Hitler? Okay.
He literally quotes Hitler's language.
There's no such thing as contextualizing what they meant when you compare Donald Trump to Hitler. Here's the problem with society, and if I'm being honest, you are part of the problem.
What do you feel about what is going on with your country?
I know
His vice president, J.D. Vance, once called Trump Hitler. So don't come with this. Okay, hold on. Sorry.
If you're Gavin Newsom, you're running a mile from this now, aren't you? You're thinking, you know what?
Hold on.
Politics is really out of bounds.
I mean,
If you
I'm
truly
very,
believe-
look.
Right. And again, all you have to do to understand how ridiculous the argument is to say, actual Hitler, he gets an assassination attempt. We say, well, we wish our best to actual Hitler. We hope that actual Hitler and his family are doing well. Our prayers go out to actual.
First of all, Ben Shapiro is a genocidal scumbag. He supports the Israeli military in Gaza. He's a Zionist scum. Look at that face. It's, disgusting. Oof. I don't know why he has him on the show. I don't understand. I mean, what does he have to offer here? Come on, man.
I mean, we celebrate in movies people who tried to assassinate Hitler. And so if you keep actually making that comparison, and it's not just the Hitler comparison, it's the idea that if Donald Trump wins, there will never be another election in the United States. If Donald Trump wins, that this place will be the Handmaid's Tale, which is literally something that the Biden-Harris headquarters tweeted out like 2 weeks ago. They tweeted out a picture from the Handmaid's Tale saying Donald Trump's Project 2025 will effectuate this in America. The moral argument in favor of then getting rid of that person in order to save the country is fairly strong, but the whole point is that no one actually believes that. And that's where the dishonesty comes in. Democrats don't actually believe that Donald Trump is Hitler any more than Republicans who say that Joe Biden, if he's reelected, would end the country. There'd be no further elections. Nobody actually believes that, because if you actually believe that, you would have to there's an actual moral case for you to pick up a gun and go do something about it. That's why this rhetoric, I mean, I've been critical on it from I think every side for a very long time. But the reality is that President Biden gives a speech last night in which he talks about how we need to cool it down. And all I wanted from him was for him to say, including me. Or just say, including me.
I totally agree.
Because the reality, the
So
reality of him not saying that, it makes it sound like,
all I wanted to say is, to cool it down. What about me? What do you think he was saying? What do you think he was saying? What do you think he was saying? Just Donald Trump got to cool it down, but he doesn't have to. Joe Biden, who's a genocidal scum, has suspended all his ads, political ads, all his man, Dementor's killing my brain, man.
well, now I'm diffusing responsibility among everyone without taking any for myself. And I would hope that everybody would take a look in the mirror at this point and say, including me. And if I've said anything like that, including me, right? I've tried hard not to. But I think that sort of catastrophizing that people do about American politics is really out of bounds.
I mean, I'm very, I'm very happy to concede that I've been intemperate in my language over the years about politicians. But in Britain, we've had 2 members of parliament murdered in the last 10 years. This is a very real thing. There are crazy people out there who want to kill elected officials. And we saw one again trying to do it on Saturday. If that had happened, then in the great history of the United States, it would have been the 5th time that an American president would have been assassinated. 2 others have had attempts on their lives. Trump is now the 3rd. That's basically like 1 in 7 American presidents have either been assassinated or had assassination attempts on them. I mean, an alarming statistic. What do you think would have happened if Trump had actually been killed?
I have no idea. I mean, one thing I think would not have happened.
There will
and I
have been
think there's a
some
lot of
violence.
talk
That's
about
it.
a
A little
civil
bit.
war would have broken out. Again, I don't think that Americans were going to go pick up guns and start shooting each other. But would it have?
A civil war. Why are you always saying civil war? Why are people so, this romance with a civil war? Don't you understand? This civil war stuff is not funny, and it's not. You shouldn't even talk about it. We already went through it. It was ugly. Do you want to go through it again? Well, I got a place to go to. I'm going to go to Israel. Hey.
Been a crisis moment in American politics? Absolutely. Would it put us one step further on the road to a breakup of the country? 100%.
No,
are we at the point where the tinderbox is so dry that any spark is going to set it off? I don't think we're quite there yet, thank God. But I think this is a great warning moment to say, well, we better, actually take down that that temperature. We got to prevent that from moving one step further along, because effectively speaking, the Civil War in the United States was presaged for literally decades. And then in the last 15 years before the Civil War, things gradually ramped up and ramped up and ramped up and ramped up. And at any point.
Well, the Civil War took place for two important things. First of all, slavery was legal in the South and illegal in the North. So you can't have a country that owns human beings on one side and the other. And the second problem is the Senate was not even. The North had more senators than the South, because every time the new states came in, I don't remember how it worked, but they tricked the South and they got two more senators than they did. You understand? So the country was still young, didn't have no real institutions. And thank God they had institutions to survive. But people like Ben Shapiro are the people who are inciting Americans against each other. Ben Shapiro made $220 million last year. Well, all he does is every day him, Matt Walsh, and the other is incite against women, incite against trans, against gay people, against blacks, attacking DEI, attacking all this stuff. Sometimes, you got to give it a break after a while, because what you're doing is you're inciting human beings against each other. You understand? I'm blocked by Destiny and Cosmic Fox, who's my only trans friend.
Along that line, you could theoretically come to some sort of workable solution and move away from that. It's time for Americans to do that, as opposed to continuing to ramp things up. And so, again, if he'd been shot, it would have taken us a much further step along the line to an actual breakup of the country.
I actually hope that Donald Trump, and I'm seeing signs that he may.
I'm going to tell you, thank God he was not shot as a human being. I don't want to see nobody gets hurt, not even Donald Trump. But the United States institutions are stronger than what they think they are. The only corrupts are the political parties, the civilian governments. All we have to do is just roll those tanks down Pennsylvania Avenue and tell all these douchebags to go back home, and we'll run the country. That's it. I said this before, and I'll say it again. Eventually, the military will be more favored by American citizens to take over than to keep on going in this cycle of hatred, fighting, infighting, taking each other to court. Not even the Supreme Court is corrupt. The last frontier about democracy was our Supreme Court. Now it's over.
May have already worked this out for himself, and maybe his brush with death, literally, has cemented his instincts that maybe things have got out of hand now. And I hope that, given that I think he's almost now 100% certain to be elected president again, I hope he does come with a different tone. There's no doubt when Democrats say, well, what about Trump? I do think it's way too early to be saying that when a guy just literally had an attempt on his life. But there is a legitimate thing to say that Trump's language, the way he abuses opponents and so on, that he's gone too far. And it would be incredibly disarming to many of Trump's critics if, unlike Joe Biden, he did actually acknowledge that and say it's time for all of us to dial down the rhetoric.
I mean, I totally agree with that. And I think that, again, what you've seen from President Trump in this campaign, this is the shocking part of his campaign, because it's very different from 2020, which was very inflammatory, or 2016, which was very inflammatory. This has been a significantly more moderate campaign in both tone and tenor. And I think that because of that, it's been disarming for the Biden campaign. They keep trying to paint him as this fascist, and it was not going over with the American people, which is why Joe Biden was losing. And that's why he had to keep ramping up the rhetoric with regard to President Trump. President Trump has already said that he's completely rewritten his speech for the RNC for Thursday night when he gives his keynote address. He has told everybody who's speaking that they should be speaking about American unity, about moving forward arm in arm together. And the reality is, again, President Trump is a non-ideological figure. And people who have been watching his administration and people who watch what he says positionally understand he's a non-ideological figure. I think that if President Trump gets in his head, and I think he does at this point have in his head, that he can be a transformative American figure and bring Americans back together in a way that actually does make America great again, it could be a signal shift in the trajectory of American history.
I mean, there's another extraordinary story developing today. The judge in Florida has dismissed a criminal case relating to classified documents found at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. That's another major legal win for Trump. You know, this attempt to weaponize the justice system against him has pretty much spectacularly backfired. I mean, they went first with the Stormy Daniels attempt over him, you know, shuffling papers.
I agree. The Stormy Daniel trial was a bullshit. It was unnecessary just to embarrass him. But the paperwork that he took, the classified paperwork files he took, I think they had a real case there. They just ended up in a corrupt judge. That's all. This is what our country is going through. It's going to go to a slow death democracy. Nothing more than that.
Paperwork to hide the fact he paid a porn star for an alleged one-night stand 20 years ago. It all sounded ridiculous at the time it was being brought against him. It turned out to be ridiculous. He got convicted, but off the back of that, his poll ratings surged even higher, and he got about $150 million worth of donations in about 2 weeks. I mean, none of this strategy from the left has worked, is it? The attempt to go after him and try and incarcerate him to stop him being re-elected.
I mean, that is clearly true. I'm a religious person, and so, you know, I tend to see the hand of God in history. It's kind of hard not to see the hand of God when you realize, as you said at the very top of the show, Piers, that if...
Well, I'm a religious person. I kind of see the hand of God. But we kill Palestinians, though. Kill those Palestinians.
Donald Trump turns his head about 2 inches, he's dead at this point. You know, there's something happening that I don't think anybody can really explain without reference to something that they don't understand happening with regard to President Trump. As far as the dismissal of the documents case, you know, once again, that documents case was the most serious of the cases against President Trump. Judge Eileen Cannon may be reversed on appeal. It'll be too late for the election. And there's a very clear effort to use the legal system to prohibit Donald Trump from becoming president of the United States again. Everybody could see it, and it's not going to work. There are a lot of reports today that House Democrats are basically in a state of surrender about this election. They feel that Donald Trump has already won it. It's way too early to ever say that. I mean, we're only in July at this point. There could be something unprecedented that happens, since we've now had 2 unprecedented things happen in the last month.
To be made by any sane mind between...
Followers have people moving. You might not be as calm and cool as you are as far as rules of engagement, and you do not...
Thanks so much.
Well, join me now to debate all this is columnist, author, and co-host of Democracy-ish podcast, Wajah Ali, the former U.S. Navy SEAL, Robert Neal, and the journalist and commentator.
Now, you're going to see how biased everybody is, especially the Navy SEAL. He's an election denier.
Emily Austin. Well, welcome to all of you. Let me start with you, Robert Neal, because I've been absolutely staggered by what we have seen in terms of video clips from this attempted assassination about the Secret Service here. And I'll say why. First of all, the shooter's 20 years old. He's got an AR-15. He clambers onto a roof 130 meters from where Trump is speaking. And members of the public, a lot of them from the video clips I've seen, are alerting authorities to what this kid is doing and warning he looks like he's up there doing something. And yet he's still allowed to go ahead and fire off a bunch of rounds. He nearly assassinates Donald Trump. He kills at least one member of the crowd. He seriously wounds 2 others. But then the Secret Service, I found this extraordinary. I remember when Reagan got shot. He came out of the hotel in Washington, he gets shot, and immediately the Secret Service are racing to get him straight into the car and get out of there, right?
Now I want you to listen carefully where Pierce is going with this. Listen to the fucking. Just listen carefully where he's going with this.
Here, they seem to let him go to the ground, then prop him up, then allow him to stand above some of the height of some of his agents,
The women.
with his head clearly exposed, in what must have been an ongoing live shooter that you don't know if there's more than one, and he's allowed to address the crowd. Now, it was a powerful moment when he addressed the crowd, but I just watched the whole thing and thought, what has happened here? How is any of this Secret Service protocol? Now, am I wrong? Am I being unfair?
No, I think you're
DEI.
on a couple of different things there. I think it was the president's call himself, even though it's not the principal's necessarily call once there are shots fired. The Secret Service, I think, did a great job getting to him as quick as they could, and they covered him up. And, kudos to them because, again, you don't know how many shooters there are. There are bullets flying, and they did get in front. They did try to cover him as best they could. You could hear the president saying, I want to get my shoes, and then he was holding them up because he knew at that moment if he could raise a fist and say fight, he's going to keep people calm. He's going to keep the unity. So it's
Now you could tell Donald Trump is from New York. He's like, let me get my shoes. You almost died, Mr. President. Let us get it. No, I'm not leaving without my shoes. I want my shoes.
Wasn't there, so it's very hard to Monday morning quarterback. And I think they did a great job there. Having said that, they completely dropped the ball as far as the perimeter. I was a counter sniper too, even back in 1998. My first real job was in Albania doing this kind of counter sniper stuff. And to have a perimeter it's got to be at least 500 meters. I mean, at the very minimum, and you've got to spot less than 200 meters away. And we're just lucky. Well, this shooter, I guess, tried out for his high school shooting team, and he was booted. And they said because he was dangerously bad, like he was a horrible shot. So the perimeter should not have been there. And anyone who's ever done any kind of work like this would know a line of sight like that, elevated position in the daytime, no, he should not have gotten there. So I don't know. I'm amazed someone hasn't been fired or stepped down yet. Now, to put yourself in the eyes of the counter sniper, you got to realize he's a real person too, probably with a family, and he knows how cops are treated. If you're looking at someone crawling, even if they're yelling there's someone up there, you can't just take a shot. I mean, look what happens to vigilantes, for lack of a better word, on a subway that stands up and then they go to prison for doing whatever. So this sniper is thinking.
So this guy is going to hit all corners of his racist asshole. Now he's mentioning about that guy who strangled that black Michael Jackson lookalike in New York City subway. It has nothing to do with the situation.
Okay, is that a gun? Is that someone with a camera? I don't know if I should shoot. And I've dealt with that in war as far as rules of engagement, and you do not need that. You need to realize the Secret Service job only is to protect the principal. That's it. The military's job is to break stuff and kill people. That's it. But our heads get filled with all this nonsense. A lot of it from DEI that they don't. That's BS.
DEI, here we go. DEI, he brought it in. Go ahead, buddy. You got to hit all the corners.
Shouldn't be out there. So there's so many different moving parts, but whoever was in charge of that, up to the director Cheadle, they should have been gone yesterday.
I completely agree. I think it's been a massive dropping of the ball. And finally, Rob, before I go to the other two, a lot of criticism of the female agents just for the body language and so on.
You see, you can see the shit is orchestrated. He mentioned the word DI. At the same time, Piers Morgan is reading from a prepared written paper about the women Secret Service agents. It's orchestrated.
And the
this
fact
whole
that
show.
physically people are arguing they should have been bigger to physically be able
I'm
to
hungry, man.
protect Trump. I got to say, one of them was right in front of him on stage when she could have been shot. So I think they're obviously highly trained, very courageous people. But this idea that Trump's detail that day seemed to have so many women agents there, given what a massive target he is that, from your perspective, is that a problem? Is that something that actually the way the world is going should be encouraged? Are they as trained? Are they as effective as their male counterparts? I don't know the answers. I'm just putting the questions that X has been raging with.
I mean, as far as I can tell, getting to that detail of a president or a former president, you need to be top of the line, and the woman can't help how tall she is. However, that's the unfortunate truth. One of the jobs is to be a human shield, and she wasn't tall enough. And again, I wasn't there, and I don't understand the stress they were under. I've never met the three women that we saw. I know one had an issue holstering her pistol, but look, there are shots fired, people moving. You might not be as calm and cool as you are on the range, so I can't judge that. But it brings me back to the point. If they were hired because they were good enough, competent, had merit, fine, hire them. But if they're simply getting hired because they're women, that's wrong. And again, they might be awesome. I don't know, but we can't just be putting people in places because it checks a block. We need to take the best people available, hire them regardless of the color of their skin or their gender. And that's not happening in a lot of places. And people are getting distracted by a bunch of different crap that's out there. They don't need to be involved with. They need to where's the principle? Where's the out? Where are the potential avenues? Is it secure? And the answer to all those is no. None of that was done.
Wajad Ali, you posted this. Biden and other leaders thankfully de-escalated, did not make jokes or laugh about the violence like what happened when MAGA and Trump mocked Paul Pelosi. I mean, look, I've seen a lot of people on the left say that Trump, uses just as incendiary language. He's just as insensitive as people who've been attacked for being insensitive over Trump's shooting. But do you think that was a timely thing to post? I mean, do you not think that one of the arguments the left always put against the right in America, particularly after shootings, is, there should just be a period of dignity where you treat what's happened with utmost severity? And
remember when Nancy Pelosi's husband got attacked with a hammer and almost died in San Francisco? They said it's because he had a gay lover, and it was a squirrel between gay sex. All of them said that. All of a sudden, well, we can't say this now.
You don't try and play whataboutery?
See?
I just saw your interview with Ben Shapiro where it was nothing but whataboutism, and I'm not here to BS your audience or gaslight anyone. There was a registered Republican, a white male, who tried to assassinate Donald Trump. Unfortunately, also there was a person who was killed, a father, and there were 2 people who were critically injured. And Donald Trump, ever since he descended the escalators 9 years ago and ascended to power for 9 years, has stoked the ultra-violence. I remember at his protest, he used to openly say, knock the crap out of him, I'll pay for your legal bills. This is the same people who's called the press, people like us, people like you, Pierre's enemy of the people. And as such, for the past 9 years, multiple cases where his followers have tried to commit violence against law enforcement, the press, poll workers. This is the same man who said, as of this campaign, I want to be dictator for a day. Last week, he praised the January 6th violent insurrectionists, called them hostages. He incited a violent insurrection. When those insurrectionists came to the Capitol with violence, some of them came to assassinate Nancy Pelosi and Mike Pence, his former vice president. You know what he said? Yeah, they're onto something. He encouraged them to kill Mike Pence, his former vice president. 2 weeks ago, Donald Trump posted that he wants televised military tribunals for Liz Cheney, who used to be the #3 Republican, and also the head of Heritage Foundation, who has released Trump's Project 2025 2 weeks ago, Pierce, said that we're in the process of a second American revolution, and it will be bloodless unless the left allows it to be. This is what we're dealing with. It is a toxic environment which has been stoked by Trump's embrace of the ultraviolence and violent rhetoric. And yesterday, Nancy Pelosi, her husband, Paul Pelosi, folks, for those who don't know, another far-right nut, tried to assassinate her. He opened the door. He took a hammer to her head. He survived an assassination attempt. Do you know what MAGA and Trump did? They mocked him, ridiculed him, promoted conspiracy theories, and then Trump joked about it with the public. Nancy Pelosi yesterday, regardless of what you think about their politics, Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, and President Biden wished Trump well. They wished peace. They de-escalated the situation. And all of a sudden, we have whataboutism from the right wing. And I want to say one last thing about the right wing. Mitt Romney was the 2012 Republican presidential candidate. Do you know what Mitt Romney said, openly admitted? He has to pay $5,000 a month for security for his family. He said Republicans in office right now are also terrified for their life. You know who they're terrified from? MAGA Republicans. This is what has happened. We cannot normalize this.
Okay.
We cannot normalize this nonsense.
Before I get to
and
also,
also,
okay, well, hang on. Let me get in.
Scholars of fascism.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
It's fine. You mentioned fascism. I just played a montage of endless people on the left calling Trump Hitler. Now, to me,
so
it is
J.D.
an utterly
Vance.
ridiculous comparison. Adolf Hitler and the Nazis murdered 12 million people, 6 million Jews in a Holocaust. There is no comparison to be made by...
Okay, Hitler murdered 6 million Jews. Also, 20 million Russians got killed. 4 million Bengalis died from famine because Churchill and Britain stole the rice harvest to give it to the war effort and starved 4 million people to death. 12 million Germans got killed. I don't know how many Polish, how many French, how many American. Why do you always just give him credit for one thing? If you're going to give a guy credit, give him credit for everything. You understand? That's on his resume. We can't just say, oh, he killed 6 million. Yeah, he did that, but he also caused the destruction of his country, the murder, the killing of 20 million Russians. And the Bengalis got it too. They starved to death because they took away the rice. Why we always do that? Isn't he?
Any sane mind between them, Adolf Hitler, the Nazis, and Donald Trump. And I can imagine how impressionable minds, if they keep being told someone is Hitler, start to believe they might have a moral justification in killing such a person. Why wouldn't you if you genuinely think this man is Hitler? Would you like the left now to stop calling him Hitler? Do you think it's time to stop doing that?
I don't know if...
By the way, his vice president pick also called him Hitler. Just to remind you that everybody's calling him that.
The leftists, but I know that the most sober scholars of fascism, including Timothy Snyder, Ruth Ben-Ghiat, and others who have studied the rise of fascism in Europe, the rise of Mussolini, the rise of Nazism, have talked about how MAGA and Trump resemble the rise of authoritarianism. Furthermore, I want to tell people that Trump himself said he will be a dictator for a day. And 2 weeks ago, the Supreme Court said the president has, quote, absolute immunity for official acts done.
So you don't think it's a problem calling him Hitler? You don't think it's a problem calling him Hitler?
Who called him Hitler? They're talking, and also who
called him
Hitler?
Okay.
He literally quotes Hitler's language.
Do you want me to go?
He literally quotes, wait.
No, do you want me to play again the minute? I just literally played a minute-long mashup.
I know,
of people on the left literally calling him
all.
Hitler. And my question for you, Wajat, is I think it's incredibly stupid and inaccurate and wrong and inflammatory and dangerous to keep calling an American politician the new Adolf Hitler when he isn't. And my question to you is, do you agree with me?
I believe calling him Hitler when you said that Hitler did all those, the genocide. Yeah, they're not talking about that. They're talking about the pathway towards dictatorship where the pro-democracy coalition bent the knee in advance like you are doing, unfortunately, and they're talking about the rise of fascism. Also, speaking about Hitler, the language of Hitler, sadly, he uses vermin, poisoning the blood, Third Reich. He uses that language, unfortunately. So when he uses Hitlerian language...
Okay, but what about Joe Biden?
He does not. Joe Biden does not use Hitler's language.
I'm about to read you something Joe Biden said only last week. This is what he told potential donors.
Sure.
It's time to put a bullseye on Trump.
Yes, I've heard that. And guess what? You know how that was represented? In the Detroit rally. I saw that. I saw the speech. There is an election happening right now. He talked about putting the focus on Trump and Trump's rhetoric. And then you know what happened? He went to the rally. I heard the speech. No violent insurrection. No dictatorship for a day. He talked about Trump's rhetoric.
So you don't have a problem. You don't have a problem. Okay, so you don't have a problem with the current Democrat president of the United States saying it's time to put a bullseye on Trump, his political opponent.
Because
given that literally within days of him saying it, somebody put a bullseye on Trump and tried to assassinate him.
Within days of him saying that and literally campaigning against Trump, a registered Republican male, yes, tried to assassinate Trump. It was not liberals.
Well, it's also been reported he donated to Joe Biden. We don't know yet the motivation.
No, he did not.
Well, we don't know enough about him to make an assessment. All I'm saying is, if the President of the United States says it's time to put a bullseye on Trump... But we do know he's a registered Republican. Well, I'm just saying, it was literally several days gap between the president saying it's time to put a bullseye on Trump and that being widely reported and somebody putting a bullseye on Trump. So when it comes to dangerous language or rhetoric, I actually think both sides are culpable, but Joe Biden and you apparently, on his behalf, do not see any reason to dial it down on your side.
I refuse to accept this nonsense bullshit both sides framing when literally yesterday the entire Democratic leadership de-escalated the situation and they're not even campaigning right now. And literally last week, Donald Trump praised the January 6th violent insurrectionists as peaceful hostages. And 2 weeks ago asked for a military tribunal. And for 9 years has stoked violence against all the groups that I've mentioned, which is why law enforcement has said there has been a rise in stochastic terrorism. Stochastic terrorism is specific targeted violence against individuals and groups incited by public rhetoric. There have been more than 70 cases of Trump's MAGA followers attacking literally all of his critics, including media, poll workers, law enforcement, elected officials, people like Paul Pelosi. He has stoked this political violence for 9 years, and you have normalized it.
All right.
I have not.
Okay.
I condemn it.
Okay.
I condemn all of it.
Okay. So, and what were your personal feelings when you heard Trump had been shot?
It was I was on a WhatsApp group, and someone said he's been shot. I'm like, no way. And I immediately checked the video. I'm like, oh my God. And then he got up, and I'm like, thank God, because I agree with what everyone said. It would have been disastrous for everyone. I mean, a political assassination. And then I thought nobody else was killed. Later on, I found out that the father tried to protect his family. He was killed. And then 2 individuals were critically wounded. And then the shooter was also killed. So it's one of those situations of exile and relief because, again, political violence has no place. There should be a way where you should look at the record and the rhetorics and the policies, and that should be enough, in my opinion, to show you that Trump is not fit. But thankfully, the leadership right now, regardless of what you say about Biden and everyone else, they really de-escalated yesterday, and I'm glad they did. That is sober, responsible leadership.
All right,
Can you imagine, Piers, God forbid, if the situation was reversed, what Trump would say? We know the violent insurrection. We know who he is.
All right, let me bring in Emily. You've been waiting patiently. Your response.
Thank you, Emily, for waiting
First
patiently.
of all, yeah, I'd like to say that, first of all, as a Jewish person, there's no such thing as contextualizing what they meant when you compare Donald Trump to Hitler. You can't say, oh, he's the KKK, but minus the part where they hunted down African Americans. There's no such thing. But here's the problem with society, and if I'm being honest, you are part of the problem. I'm sorry, I forgot your name. You cannot justify the violence because Pierce asked a very head-on question, is this wrong or whatever it was, and you spent the last 10 minutes trying to explain the other side, but then say you don't believe in 2 sides. Political violence is wrong, and I'm glad to hear you condemn that. But by you trying to make the argument that Trump, because he's XYZ, you almost made it seem like you understood why it could be justified and then looked for all these reasons that are completely invalid. You are part of the problem because we live in a society where if you don't like a person, we try to delegitimize everything they say. We invalidate the things that they say. We come up with outrageous accusations, and then we dehumanize them. And do you know who dehumanized groups of people? Hitler did. So the Democrats are actually taking a page right out of Hitler's playbook and then have the audacity to make the Hitler comparison to Trump, which I just find ironic.
Rob, I want to bring you in here. I'll talk to you about the security aspect of this, but just as an American hero who served his country with great valor and heroism, as I said, with
Oh, I'm talking to a mic.
Navy SEAL team.
I've been talking to a mic that's been muted.
What do you feel about what is going on with your country?
What an idiot I am.
In light of what happened at the weekend.
Here we go.
Well, I think that a lot of people are being fed nonsense from different news outlets, and if you try to bring up a different point, you get silenced. And it's the whole fascism, admit nothing, deny everything, make counter accusations. Your guest, Mr. Ali, is saying he's a fascist. Oh, how's that? Is he silencing his political opponents? Is he bringing up BS charges, charging him with stuff that he's never done? All the stuff they're doing to Donald Trump, and then they put a gag order on him, and then they try to assassinate him. This is South America nonsense, and it shouldn't be that way. And just spinning everything the way they want it, like they're saying Donald Trump said suckers and losers, and he badmouthed the military, and violent insurrection when he said go down there and have your voice be heard. I know Donald Trump, and he's not trying to incite violence. And then as far as he's a violent insurrectionist, what about all the cities that the left burned down? And then no one says anything, mostly peaceful, yet the entire city is burning behind me. And again, I'm not a Republican either. I'm not a Democrat, I'm a registered independent, but I also have...
You gotta reach for them blacks, the BLM, Why don't you make your point? Leave the women alone and leave the blacks alone. Listen, Donald Trump is not a Hitler. Nobody says that. He has no ideology. The problem is he's too erratic, self-serving, transactional. He's in it for himself. No matter what, I know Donald Trump. We come from the same thread, New York City. It's all about what's in it for me. Every time you walk the streets of New York, you're like, how much money you're gonna make. You understand?
I have a brain in my head. I don't just sit somewhere regurgitating other people's thoughts in an echo chamber, saying it like Nancy Pelosi admitted. If you say it enough, the useful idiots, that's a communism term, will repeat it. And that's all that's happening. Open your eyes. See what's happening. They tried to kill him. That's where they're at right now. They beat him in 2020, whatever. It was miraculous how many millions of votes came in out of nowhere. It's like, and you're not allowed to even say that because then you get shut off from social media. Like, just take a deep breath, go outside and talk to people. Like, it's so obvious. Who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes?
Right.
It's crazy.
I mean, what
He didn't say nothing. Did he say anything?
Hope was that we would get to this debate
He didn't
today,
say
having
one
had
thing.
36 hours to think about all this, and there would be a concerted, united effort by everybody to try and dial everything down. An acknowledgement on both sides that the rhetoric on both sides, whether it's the left branding him Hitler all the time, or it's Joe
Hitler's
Biden
crazy,
talking about putting a bullseye on Trump, whatever it may be. We've had 2 politicians in Britain killed in the last 10 years by lunatics.
Who cares about Britain?
There are lots of crazy people out there who will act if they believe that elected officials are somehow doing stuff that deserves their death. And to whip up that with this language, and I'm going to say both sides, because it is both sides. You can construct an argument that Trump's worse than the left, and the left can construct an argument the other way around, and he can about you. But to me, where is the concerted will of everybody to try and acknowledge that when one of the 2 presidential candidates nearly had his head blown off at the weekend and is unbelievably lucky to still be alive,
yes, he is lucky.
When that happens, it is the wake-up call that is long overdue for America.
You can believe me or your lying eyes. And yesterday there was a press conference where President Biden said exactly that, unite, and he had pretty much every Democratic leader, Nancy
I haven't heard
Pelosi,
you
even
say
AOC, Barack Obama, wait, and condemned it. And speaking about condemning political violence, I'm glad we all do. And meanwhile, who politicized it? J.D. Vance, who was trying to be the VP, politicized it, blamed Democrats before there was any evidence about the shooter. Lauren Boebert, Scott Jennings, Republican on CNN. They're the ones who did it. And by the way, it ended up being a registered Republican. So when you say both sides,
who is
I want people to trust their eyes.
Who is also reported to have donated to Biden. So we don't know yet the full motivation.
$15.
We don't know.
Yes,
well,
I
fine.
know.
Look, he was a Biden donor.
You see how dishonest Pierre Morgan is? He's a scumbag, man. The guy donated $15 to a thing called Act Blue. I did it. I have donated $50, $60 all the time. Act Blue is like these PAC organization that are not directly connected to Biden. The way he said it, he gave it to Biden. He gave it to Biden. You're as dishonest as your guest. This is the problem we have, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody's dishonest. Everybody lies, man. Well, I'm going to lie to you. He gave $15 to Joe. He did not give $15 to Joe Biden. He never did. He donated to an organization called Act Blue, and there's Act Red for the Republican Party. So everybody has these organizations, but he's so dishonest, and he's such a fucking ideologue. He's willing to lie.
And a registered Republican. We don't know what his motivation was.
I'm just telling you the facts. I'm telling you the facts. I didn't say MAGA. I didn't say he was a Trump supporter.
With respect, if you're trying to explain to me that obviously it was a Republican who did this because he killed the Republican candidate to be president,
no,
I've got
he's
a slight problem with your logical thinking there. If he's a Republican, why is he killing the Republican president or trying to?
So, unlike the other 3 guests, I do not blame the left. They just spent the last 30 minutes blaming the left. I'm telling you the facts. And secondly, I'm telling you that we have to do an investigation. Hopefully we find out why. But the facts are, and we could trust our eyes, that was a registered Republican, and there was a violent insurrection done by Trump.
Why are you only giving half the facts?
And he wants to be a dictator for a day.
That's $15.
Compare that to Biden.
You are not giving me the facts. You're giving me your selected version of the facts. You're saying he was a registered Republican.
There was no violent insurrection.
You're not saying
there was no violent insurrection.
He was also a Biden donor.
This is the worst thing about Piers Morgan's. I watch his programs. Instead of being a moderator, he's one of the debaters. He's debating this guy, Wajid Ali, more than the other two guests. I mean, he's the one who. I mean, he's not telling Oh, what about that $15?
No. Okay, so continually refusing to acknowledge that doesn't mean you're giving me facts. It means you're giving me partisan political fact that suits your agenda.
Sure, let's acknowledge the fact he gave $15 also to a super PAC a couple years ago, and in the last 2 years he is a registered Republican, and we have to find out. I didn't say he's MAGA because we don't know. We have to find out the facts.
Thank you.
But
We
what I
don't
do
know. We don't know is the correct response. You trying to say he's one of yours? You trying to say he's one of yours that did it?
You guys just spent the last 30 minutes blaming the left. I'm just giving you facts.
Actually,
and
you've
I'm also
spoken
telling you the
for
facts.
half
Trust
of
your own
it.
eyes.
So, with respect, you have spoken for half of that 30 minutes. Let me bring in Emily.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, I'm not. Listen, I like having you on. There's no problem with you talking. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you did get half.
I'm sorry, I can't see.
You have had more
pardon me, I
airtime
can't
than
see
either
anyone.
of your co-panelists. So let me bring them back in.
Sure, please.
Emily, I mean, I really do feel strongly that what we need now is proper leadership. I hope that Donald Trump, and I actually expect this, that in his speech at the Republican convention later this week, I think we're going to hear a very different tone from Trump. Would you like him to be less aggressive, less bombastic, more conciliatory, more unifying? Not just talking to Republicans, but also talking.
Donald Trump wants to be that president. All he has to do say is, I've seen the light, and God has spoken to me that I love all Americans, no matter who they are.
Talking to Democrats, to independents, to everyone in America, to say, look, I love this country, and I nearly died at the weekend because I'm trying to serve this country as an elected politician. This can't go on. It's all got out of hand. We've got to bring it together. And then to have Biden respond and say, I wish I'd never said the thing about him, having a bullseye on his head and so on. I just think it's time that big leaders stood up and led the narrative
Joe Biden doesn't
into
even know
a
where he's
better,
at.
calmer, more mutually respectful place, as it used to be.
I have a very strong opinion on this. Most viewers probably don't know, but I'm 23 years old, and in my
Who cares?
lifetime, this is the first political assassination I've seen, and hopefully the last that we will see in my lifetime. But it sets such a bad precedent to the future of the United States that this is what the government is like. This is what politicians act like. We see this level of animosity that, Pierce, you just said it used to not be this way, that I have never seen in my life. Like I mentioned earlier, we started to dehumanize people because we don't agree with their opinion. As far as Trump goes, listen, you can't kill a man God wants alive. And I think he will take that to heart. I think he will change his demeanor a little bit. Do I want to see Trump less aggressive? Absolutely not. America needs an aggressive president. Would I like to see him watch his mouth more? Absolutely. But we saw during the debate with Biden, I think he handled himself very well. I think he acted very professional, very presidential, kept his cool. Biden spewed a bunch of BS on that debate. Lord knows what he was even saying. And Trump had every opportunity to make fun of him, and he chose to take the high road. Now he's just had an experience where he almost just saw death and met God, but survived that miraculously. I think any normal person would take that to heart. They said he already changed his speech for the RNC. I think he understands now more than ever. America's on such a bad path towards destruction, and we need someone aggressive, Pierce.
All right, if he changes his, I'll vote for him.
Not only of the United States, but look what's happened to the world under Biden.
But Emily, I would use a different word. I would say not aggressive, but strong. America needs a strong leader.
Aggressive.
He was just calling everybody a Palestinian as a slur a week ago. If Donald Trump changes for the good, I'll vote for him any time of the day.
I do believe, look, I'm over across the pond at the moment in London. I can tell you the general feeling here is that America right now is very weak because people see an 81-year-old president not in control of his faculties. Right? That is not a good. I don't care whether you're Democrat or Republican. This is not good for America. Rob, let me bring you in just on two pictures I want to just discuss with the panel. The first one, from a technical point of view, it's an extraordinary image taken by a New York Times photographer showing the bullet trail literally whooshing past Trump's head. We believe that the shooter was using an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle. Had that bullet entered Trump's body, particularly in his head, would he be alive now?
No.
No, he wouldn't be alive because if you get into ballistics, you got to realize it's not the bullet itself that's going to kill you. It's the shock waves that follow it, and there's going to be a temporary cavity, then a permanent cavity. If that goes in your brain, especially if it was in the back near his pons medulla, that's a sniper shot that would have killed him. So that, and then again too, just I mean, you can tell by the flight, by the vapor trail behind it. That's a bullet. But right now, I guarantee you're going to hear the left saying, "Oh, he wasn't even shot. He was hit with glass fragments." First of all,
no,
what
he was
glass
shot.
did it
He
hit?
was shot.
And why does glass fly that straight? You're looking at a bullet that flew past his head, potentially through his ear. Very, very dangerous. You take a shot in the head, you're going to die. I mean, I'm amazed. That's some Pulitzer Prize stuff right there. If that's the award they give to photographers, I'm not that smart. But yeah, that's a crazy photo right there.
Well, it's an amazing picture, and it's only been eclipsed actually. And I've got to single out the valor of these photographers who ran right to the stage, not knowing if there were multiple shooters, not knowing if the original shooter had actually been taken down. This photograph I'm going to show you now is taken by Evan Vucci, the chief Washington photographer for the Associated Press. Now, he's been covering Trump for his entire political career. He won a Pulitzer actually in
Watch what he's going to. Oh, I love the flag. It's
photographs of
upside down.
protests
I'm
after
a
George
fucking.
Floyd's death. But this picture here, when you watch the video of Evan Vucci, he runs into place and then very deliberately gets right in front of the action to take this picture. And that's the moment where, Rob, you see Donald Trump shouting, "Fight, fight, fight." Now, he's been criticized for that. How anyone can criticize anyone for anything they say when they've just been shot at is baffling to me. But in terms of the power of that image of a president being shot, being hit in the side of the ear, falling to the ground, and then getting back up, surrounded by Secret Service, to punch the air in defiance and say, "Fight, fight, fight." How powerful did you find that image?
It's powerful for a number of reasons. Obviously, the president was just shot, his hands in the air saying fight. And he's not just saying fight for the Republicans, fight for the country. And if you look in the back, the American flag is almost upside down, which is a symbol for a nation in distress. That's so powerful right there. And of course, he's going to be criticized. Donald Trump could make you the best stack of pancakes in the world, and the left would say pancakes suck. It's like you're going to get criticized for everything. Very, very powerful image. That's the reason he's going to win right there. I mean, you're going to see this everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, Wajah Ali, obviously you have a deep dislike of Donald Trump, but that was an extraordinary moment of personal courage, I would argue, to get back up when you've had a hail of bullets past you, to get back up and to punch the air defiantly, whoever you are, is a remarkable action, isn't it?
It is, yep.
Donald Trump is a remarkable creature of media, and he used that moment and he got back up, and I'm glad everyone was safe. But I also remember there's 9 years worth of images and rhetoric and behavior, and that's a powerful image. It's going to be an iconic image. So was the images from January 6th, and I hope enough voters realize that the future of our country should not be based on just one image, but also rhetoric and policies and actions.
But you would view what happened on January 6th as an assault on democracy, and yet what we saw here at the weekend was the greatest assault on American democracy imaginable, the attempted assassination of a presidential candidate.
There was one shooter, as what we know right now, I'm only basing on fact, there was one shooter who tried to assassinate Trump. One person was killed, 2 people were critically injured. On January 6th, the former president of the United States, along with other Republicans, inspired a violent insurrection against a free and fair election and tried his best to engage in a coup. Thankfully, it failed. And last week, the same Donald Trump praised those January 6th violent insurrectionists, and in the Supreme Court.
But why can't you look, here's the thing, Roger. Why can't you do what I do, right? I'm not a...
I'm listening to facts.
I'm going to explain to you what I mean. I'm not a conservative. I'm not a Republican. I'm obviously British. I'm not a conservative here, although I have voted conservative in the past. But I'm perfectly capable of doing what I did after January 6th and saying I thought those scenes were disgusting, that Trump's rhetoric was deeply unhelpful that day, et cetera, and I wrote columns about it and said it on air. But I'm also capable of divorcing that for a moment to look at a picture of a man showing remarkable courage under fire and call that for what it is. You seem completely incapable, with respect, of saying anything that could be remotely construed or clipped up or anything which could be remotely seen as either supportive or praiseworthy of Donald Trump. And this is part of the problem. right? You can hate someone as much as you like. You can say there are 20,000 things you hate about them, and you shouldn't have done this, 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 and this, and this. But sometimes you've got to step back, haven't you, and go, actually, it was appalling what happened to Trump on Saturday, but what he did was actually remarkable. And I take my hat off to him, whatever you want to say, but to not be capable of doing that is part of the problem.
I'm fine with that. The fact that he had the presence of mind to get up and do that, I think it was a very powerful image, and I think very few people would have understood that moment and done that, and I believe it will help rally his base. I've said
it won't just help rally his base.
He understands.
Okay, but Emily, it's not going to just help rally Trump's base. This is going to rally, I think, a lot more Americans who are already beginning to migrate away from Joe Biden. We know this. A lot of Latinos, a lot of Black Americans and others moving in big numbers now away from Biden towards Donald Trump. This is not going to make him less popular. This is going to make him, in my estimation, of knowing Americans for a long time and having huge affection and admiration for American people, this is going to drive a lot of Americans who were maybe wavering, sitting on the fence, towards Trump, I think.
I'm so glad you mentioned this, Pierce, because for years, especially working in sports broadcasts, I've always felt bullied into shying away from my public support, not necessarily of Trump, but the Republican Party and the conservative movement. And now, after Trump's assassination attempt, I noticed, just to name a few, Mitchell Robinson on the New York Knicks posted something about Trump. It wasn't even so politically motivated, but so glad he's okay, praying for America, this is unacceptable. And then had to apologize for what he said by saying, this doesn't mean I'm voting for Trump. I'm sad to see a potential president almost assassinated.
Right. It's disgusting.
And the fact that and then there was another guy on the Jets, Sauce Gardner, Ahmed Gardner, who said, this is appalling, blah, blah, blah. And to see the response from the users who are so outraged, how dare they have a political opinion that doesn't correlate with mine? And these, by the way, just for statistic purposes, are two Black men that are now publicly supporting Trump after the assassination attempt. And I think this will delete that stigma a little bit of you can't be public if you support Trump. You need to keep that in your corner. And when you go on social media, pretend you like Biden. So I'm glad to see that people are starting to be more honest about their opinions, because we are so quick to cancel one another.
And by the way, Emily, I have seen a steady stream of utterly repulsive posts on X from people, including nurses in this country, to people who are educators, university people, and so on in America, just posting their glee and their distress that Trump wasn't killed. Oh dear, bad shot, wish it had been closer, etc., etc., etc. It's disgusting. And a lot of these people tend to have the hashtag be kind in their bios on X, as if somehow they're kind. They're not kind people. They're actually very malevolent, dark-hearted people who, in that moment of an American presidential candidate and former president having an assassination attempt, just wished it had been successful. And this is
Well, again,
it comes back to my point.
All right, let's let it go here. Now he's just talking. Now he's just talking to himself. He's like, I'm right and everybody's wrong. I'm right and everybody's wrong. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. We're gonna watch later on the Republican National Convention. We hope that America's democracy just does what it does all the time. Pick a president, even if it's not the one we picked. We learn to live with it, and then we'll say there's a next time 4 years later. This is how it should be working anyway. Anyway, thank you very much. God bless you all. God bless the United States of America. Thank you all. Bye-bye. Love you all, man. I'm so in love with you. Yeah. Boom.